There was always cameras around, and I was always, playing with cameras, and as a kid, it wasn't any good, but I had the facilities to shoot a load of film and get them developed for free. I was taking cameras on school trips and things like that. Then in school holidays, I'd go and work, normally in the darkroom, and it was again we're talking the old days of mass printing. So there was bath-sized tubs of developer and fixer that the prints all went in and swished around, and then they used to be dried on what's called a glazing machine, which was basically a massive chrome drum that was heated up, and the pictures went in and then came round. And if you run it for long enough, they'd stick to it. So at 6 years old, my job was to peel prints off of a red hot drum. It's like working in the mind, but that's kind of where I started. And then on leaving school, I went in and I worked much more in the darkroom. I'd occasionally go out and do photographic jobs, but I was 15, 16 years old. The majority of the work I did was in the black and white darkroom. The first one I ever did, and it was always a thing of odd jobs would come in that wasn't normal clients, and like we'll send Dave out to do that. And it was for a thing called Dial-A-Ride, which I think is still going, where it was part of London Transport, but it was for picking up people with disabilities and things like that. And it was a photo shoot with Reg Varney from On the Buses. So I was probably 15, 16 years old then. I've kind of covered every type of photography, and it almost seems like the business ebbed and flowed, and we moved with it. The 80s were the era of PR. You look at Absolutely Fabulous, and that was that era. You would end up with some amazing events. There was an awful lot of money being spent. We had clients that hired the Albert Hall for 3 days to have their conference, and you had Bob Monkhouse and Lulu, and as the acts and things like that. Grosvenor House Hotel hired for events, and that was a regular thing then. Almost every event you go to, a celebrity would be pulled in to be the face of it. I struggle with politicians. There's a lot of politicians. I have a terrible story about, this is going to sound weird, Nerys Hughes and Norman Tebbit. It was a photo shoot. It was something to do with British Telecom, and it was some guys that were going off to do a charity bicycle ride. I think at the time Norman Tebbit also had some directorship at British Telecom, so he was involved. And for some reason, they'd also brought in Nerys Hughes from the Liverbirds, who is the sweetest, loveliest person you could ever meet. So we're sitting there, and it was a press shoot, so I wasn't the only photographer there. But there was people then, we had 2 guys on bicycles, Nerys Hughes and Norman Tebbit, and a lot of photographers then started to ask if Nerys Hughes and Norman Tebbit would get on the bicycles for the photograph. Now, I don't know if you remember, but Norman Tebbit gave the famous speech during the recession, one of the recessions, about you do what his father did and get on your bicycle and go and look for work. So in his mind, he doesn't want to do it. Nerys Hughes doesn't care one way or the other. So he's refusing to get on the bike. Nerys Hughes is trying to badger him along to the point where he just turns around and snaps, "I'm not going on that!" And it was like, wow, that was quite unexpected. So it was a strange. I did meet Nerys Hughes a few years later. I said, last time I met you with Norman Tebbit, and she just went, yeah. I find I think it's a very personal thing, because that's kind of the aspect of photography you can't teach, I think. I always occasion it to sort of chat up lines, what might work for me won't work for you, and vice versa. I try and make it so that having the photograph taken is the least of what's happening in that short period of time. I'll come in, I'll have a chat, try and get them relaxed, quickly explain what we're trying to do, try and make it as fun and light as possible. The digital age has really helped, I think, because you can now turn the camera around and show people exactly what you're getting. Your relationship with the subject is the key to it. That's kind of how you'll get the best out of someone with a portrait. That said, I've taken really good portraits where we haven't gone, where someone is a bit offish and there's been a bit of tension. Sometimes those portraits come out really well because something in that shows. There's a little bit of frisson in that. 15, 20 years ago, I kind of made the decision that I really didn't like doing press calls where you were there as one of 15, 20 photographers photographing the same thing. They're always argy-bargy with everyone trying to get the best positions to take the photographs. And I'm standing there going, why are we doing this? Everyone's going to end up with virtually the same photograph. And I think, yeah, all the newspapers work that out now, which is why they don't have any staff photographers and they just use agency photographers. You don't have that sort of press pack thing now anymore. And I think I much prefer working with people. Where there's an interaction, you can actually connect with someone. It's not somebody there, a distance that everyone's haranguing to get one photograph. I think for me, it would have to go into the music world. It would have to be someone like Hendrix. I think someone with like Jimi Hendrix, the kind of look and the vibe that he had, I think just fascinating subject. I don't think you can look through all those photographs and there's not a bad photograph of Jimi Hendrix. And I think he would have been someone that would have been a really interesting subject. Straight up, I probably wouldn't advise anyone to go into it as their main business now. I think the world's changed so much with technology, social media, and this is in no way a sour grape situation. I think it's just the way it is. I mean, you look at London, there must be, the Conservative guess, 10 to 15,000 professional photographers in London, and the amounts of jobs that people actually want to pay for and the amount they want to pay is getting smaller and smaller. To be honest, I think if someone was looking at getting into photography now, I would advise them to seriously look at getting the video side up as well, because I think there's a much bigger market for that than there is for stills photography. The stills photography, it's saturated. I think I read somewhere that there's not a square foot of this planet that hasn't been photographed now. Then again, there are people who, if you've got a really good niche that no one else is covering, but then what niches are left? I've sort of dived into little bits and pieces for interest, and there's always somebody. It doesn't matter what the weirdest subject is, somebody's already doing it. People get this idea that photographing someone's wedding is a good way to start in photography. No. Photographing a wedding takes people skills than any other type of photography, because you need to be unobtrusive and photograph things like the ceremony and stuff like that, and not be interfering with that kind of side. You then need to be confident enough to organise a big group of people, and that's herding cats. You're talking about if you've got 50, 60 people, you've got to try and get into one group shot. If you haven't got the confidence to start shouting and calling people in, and doing it in a way that's not aggressive or upsetting anyone, there's that balance there. Then you've got the couple's portraits, which you've got much more artistic freedom, but you're running through a whole gambit of skill sets that need to be done to photograph a wedding. If you can relax people, and you're completely right, at a wedding people are normally at their best till later on in the evening. But I normally run a wedding up to I'll go to the first dance. That's kind of where I finish photographing, and photograph the first dance, walk away, let them trash the place. And then come back. I mean, I'll be honest, I have shot weddings where I'm sitting there going, I should probably get these pictures back quickly because I'm not sure they're going to last till they're ready. What's the difference between a photographer and a large pizza? A large pizza can feed a family of 4. And unfortunately, that's probably as true as it gets. And the other one that's similar is, what's the best way to make money with photography? Sell your gear. It's been a tough year. Whether certain things will come back. My kind of work was a lot of corporate work. And right here, right now, people aren't even at work. Outside of that, I jumped back into music world a few years ago. So I'm part of a fantastic live band, probably one of the best live bands around, called Buddy Curtis and Grasshoppers. Again, 2020 has completely killed what we were doing because it was a live, thing, and we were out playing there. Another music project which is called Branded Human, which we put an album out beginning of 2021, and actually that's doing really well. But as far as the photography side, I want to try the YouTube angle from a different way. I actually want to go further back and see if I can teach film photography. I think enough people are teaching digital photography online. I think enough people have grown up with digital photography that they're now interested in, hang on, what was film about? How did film work? I've come from that background and I have enough experience to teach someone how to do it and find some way of marrying the old school film photography with the modern digital world where you're shooting on film, developing the film, but then scanning the images and using things like Photoshop to enhance them as well. So you've got a whole different, almost like a whole new area of photography to explore.